Good morning and welcome to RoadRunners. Today we have Jenny doing the craft and we've got a special guest coming in to do the talk. But before we get into all of that, your parents should have just got an email yesterday with details of where you're watching this and with your latest calendar for next week. Hopefully you've all been finding the calendars useful. We've been using it for Abigail Rose. It's a good thing to play with. You should also have received on Thursday the scavenger hunt. We're going to do our scavenger hunt as long as the weather today is nice. I'm not going to lie, I've pre-filmed this. We're doing our scavenger hunt hopefully today at 2 o'clock in Benton Park. Do yours whenever you can. You might have done it yesterday. If not, try and do it at some point today. I look forward to seeing them. We will be back on Zoom next week. So next Sunday you will see us on Zoom, not today. Otherwise, let's go and get stuck in with the craft. See you in a second.
Okay, for this craft you need 2 pieces of paper, some glue and some scissors. What you need to do is you need to take 1 piece of paper and you need to cut a square out like so it looks like that. Then what you need to do is get the other piece of paper. Now I've cut out people, but you can obviously draw some if you want. And then you need to stick the top bit on. And you can stick or draw your people. They go inside. This will be your jail. And then with the square that you've cut out, you can cut out strips like this, and then you just stick them on top of the picture. And then at the top, you just need to write out Acts 5 verse 19, which is, "But during the night an angel of the Lord opened the doors of the jail and brought them out."
Hi guys, amazing. So today is about God being our rescuer, and we're looking at the story in Acts 5. But the high priest rose up and all who were with him, that is the party of the Sadducees, and filled with jealousy, they arrested the apostles and put them in the public prison. But during the night, an angel of the Lord opened the prison doors and brought them out, and said, "Go and stand in the temple and speak to the people all the words of his life," or of God. And when they heard this, they entered the temple at daybreak and began to teach. Now when the high priest came and those who were with him, they called together the council, all the senate of the people of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. But when the officers came, they didn't find them in the prison. So they returned and reported, "We found the prison securely locked and the guards standing at the doors. But when we opened them, we found no one inside." Now that's the kind of story I like to hear when I read the Bible, because it's stuff that just doesn't happen on a normal day. Now Jesus' friends were not his friends by any accident, and they recognized and they knew who their God was. He's a God who rescues. He doesn't put us into situations and then leave us there, hoping that we will somehow climb our way out of some well. He puts us in, gives us what we need, knowing that when we trust him, he can help us, give us that rope, if you like, to bring us back out. He's a God who is our rescuer. That's one of his names. So he can't go back on his name. These friends of Jesus, they wanted to know about him because there was something about him that made them smile, something that brought them joy. They'd seen everything up to that point that Jesus had done, and they knew that it was life changing, and they wanted more of that. So when they were rescued from prison, they didn't just sit on it, they ran to tell other people. Even when they ended up in jail, they didn't allow those parameters or that border or that prison to stop them. They continued to do the very thing that they knew they needed to do and they loved to do and they wanted to do for other people to have their lives changed as well. But they didn't just do it just because they were brave people. No, God knew and helped them by his Holy Spirit. And I want to encourage you guys, like in life, our Holy Spirit is with us all the time. And if we when we find ourselves in difficult situations, or we find ourselves back here again and we're unsure how to climb out of a scenario, that we believe, especially like these guys, God has trusted us and is walking with us into. So something good, something that we know is for his good and for his glory, that we should trust that he's going to take us out. Holy Spirit can speak to us and remind us of the things that he's done before, and he says, you know what, I'm going to do those things again, and he'll give us the favour, he will give us the tools that we need. God knew that what they were doing was good, and he knew therefore he was going to make a way for them to get out. And I just love that bit in the end of the story when the guards and the senates and all the people that are high up and important or supposedly come and check out this prison, come and try and find the men again, and they're not there. That's God in his power and his might showing up big time. I want to encourage you guys therefore with this story, because I can give you an example in my life where I felt like I didn't really know what I was doing. So some of you might know that I used to do a lot of youth work and children's work, basically building relationships with people, particularly young people, but also their parents and some teachers. And we worked in lots of different schools, but we also did a lot of work on the streets. Now in schools, it's quite easy to build relationships and you can get quite comfortable. But out on the streets, it's like the open world, right? It's like you don't really know people, they're kind of strangers. Like, how do we tell Jesus to these people? And I remember a time that we were, our sort of challenge, if you like, was to go up and pray for people and kind of do like prayer walks around our city, around our town. And I was super like embarrassed, like I was really unsure, and I was actually leading this team. So I was like, come on guys, let's go. You know, bring your notepad, a pen or your water or whatever. But kind of stepping out there, I was actually really petrified. I was like, where do we start? And I'm actually was quite an introvert or quite quiet and shy child. So for me, it was still something kind of, you know, that was still the same today. But I have to say, once we prayed and we kind of stopped and we kind of basically made it less about us and more about him. And we just said, God, like, give us what we need. Holy Spirit, give us what we need in this situation. We're literally out of our depth here, but we believe that it's you that's causing us to step into this. We started walking, and I suddenly felt a peace and a confidence after that prayer. We started walking, and God had just shown a couple of us some pictures and some colours, random things though, and said, you know, once you see this, just go and speak to that person. And longer story shorter, the kind of stuff that was coming out and the kind of people that we were approaching were just ordinary people, but people that God had put there. People that we knew needed to hear about him. Some people who, you know, had their back was in pain or had something broken or just felt really lonely and needed a hug or a smile. And it was so impactful. God clearly moved that day. There were like exact copies of things that we had seen when we were praying, and God had shown us exactly what was in front of us. And afterwards I realised, why was I so nervous? Like, if anything, there's a statistic I've heard since then, that if you were to ask 5 people what they knew about Jesus, or if they wanted to know more, maybe be prayed for, out of the 5, 2 of them would be like, yeah, cool, and they wouldn't want to know more, even to the point of one of them potentially following Jesus. Then there'd be just the one left over, while the other 2 perhaps not so sure, who would say no. So out of 5, I think that's pretty good. And I wonder whether we could challenge ourselves to see if we can do that. Thinking about our friends, maybe some of our family members, people that we come into contact with that know perhaps that we're Christians. How can we find different scenarios or different times in which we can share Jesus with them? It might not be as straightforward as maybe how I used to do it on the streets, but perhaps it could be in a verse or a text or something that we share, or even just asking to pray for them when they openly talk about something that they're struggling with. Let's see if we can challenge ourselves this week to do that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jenny, for that craft. Hopefully you've drawn all your little jail cells, coloured them all in and made them look really nice. And thank you so much, Grace, for being our special guest. Hopefully that is going to be some real challenging conversations you're going to be having with your friends and reminding them and telling them, actually, you know what? Jesus is worth knowing. Let me tell you about it. And if you have some amazing stories of times you talk to your friends, please let us know. Have a great Sunday, and we will see you all next week. Goodbye.